Well, let's get reaction to this historic meeting between Trump and Putin. Joining us now in an exclusive interview is Mark Esper, former Defense Secretary. Secretary Esper, it's great to have you back on the show. Welcome.
Great to be back, Morgan. Thank you.
So let's start right there, because this is Putin's first time in Alaska. It's also his first time on American soil since 2015. What is the significance of this meeting and the expectations that we should have here?
Well, the world's holding its breath right now, hoping that it plays well in terms of Ukraine's favor, that there might be a ceasefire that leads to some agreement, but we won't know for some time. And obviously, everybody's going to be focused on what happens in this initial one-on-one or three-on-three now and what comes out of it. So I think we're all waiting to see. It could determine the future of Ukraine and obviously stability in Europe.
What are your thoughts on the fact that this has gone from a one-on-one meeting, at least the initial part of it, to three-on-three that's going to also include Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff?
Yeah, look, I think that's a positive because it means the United States has more eyes and ears on its side, looking at what Putin's saying, listening to him, understanding the nuances of what he may be trying to communicate, what he's trying to put on the table, and then being able to give President Trump advice or interject as need be. You know, I've been in those meetings with world leaders with President Trump, and he's open to having his cabinet members and others contribute to the conversation. So I think it's a positive that they're there.
The flyover we just talked about with the B-2 bomber, the F-22s, the show of military force. This is obviously taking place at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson. What's the read-through there?
Yeah, look, it's great stagecraft by the president, right, to have that big red carpet flanked by 4 F-22s, the B-2 flying overhead. And it's interesting, as you know, that many times aircraft from Alaska, American fighter aircraft, are intercepting Russian bombers that fly close to our airspace. And so it has that twist to it as well. And of course, we know about the history with United States buying it from Russia, Alaska buying from Russia in 1867. So it has all this drama behind it, this history, these theatrics. But look, it's part of this. We'll see what happens when these two men come out of their meeting and what they have to say. President Trump was very clear. He said he'd know in the first couple minutes. We know that he had those few minutes in the car ride over in the Beast. And they were seen sitting there in the room together with the three-on-three. But we'll know more in the next hour or so.
I mean, it's been framed as we enter the fourth year of this war in Ukraine, it's been framed as this David and Goliath story, this war, and just the ability of Ukraine to adapt, to counterpunch above its weight, if you will. I mean, even just earlier this week, I think there was video footage that was circulating of Ukrainian drones making attacks into Russian territory. What does it take to actually get to a ceasefire, let alone some sort of peace deal?
Right. Well, look, it's due to Ukrainian courage and persistence and adaptability on the battlefield that they've fought the Russians to a strategic standstill. I mean, let's face it, Putin wanted to conquer all of Ukraine. He wanted to replace the government with a puppet regime, and he wanted to rule that country and bring it back into what he sees as the Russian Empire. But he has not been able to accomplish that. He's only gained less than 20% of Ukrainian territory. So the question will be is, as each side has exhausted itself, and we know the numbers for the Russians, over 1 million killed or injured in this conflict over the last 3 years, they're going to look to some type of agreement. Putin obviously has maximalist demands. He's continued to say that he wants Ukraine to demilitarize. He wants the army to shrink, no Western assistance, no opportunity for NATO to join. And he wants removal of the so-called Nazi regime, which is Russian propaganda for Zelensky and his cabinet and his government. And for Zelensky, he wants just the opposite, right? He wants Russia to withdraw and to pay reparations and to return the tens of thousands of Ukrainian children that have been taken off to Russia. So the stakes are high, the sides are wide apart, and the president's aim here today is to get some type of ceasefire and continue the conversation and get Putin into a position, hopefully leveraging sanctions or the threat of sanctions to compel some type of movement by Putin.
We know the Europeans are finally opening the financial floodgates to begin to spend more on defense. What do you think happens to NATO in the wake of all this?
Yeah, look, I think it's a great outcome that the United States got the Europeans to 5%. I think it takes too long. They're looking at a 20-30 plus time frame. I think they need to accelerate that because I think deterring the Russian and Putin is important. We know the NATO Secretary General has said that Russia may be able to attack NATO by 2030 or so, which to me is why there needs to be more haste when it comes to spending on defense. Look, I don't think the Russians will go that far, but nonetheless, they need to prepare, and all of NATO needs to prepare and deter. and not just against Russia, by the way. I would say we have to always keep our eye to the east on China. To me, that's the greater strategic threat. But we are facing the hot war in Europe right now.